Welcome back to Carwa 787 where horsepower meets highway, and torque talks louder than words. If you love the sound of diesel, the legacy of legendary engines, and the evolution of semi-truck performance, you're in the right place. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a deep dive breakdown like this one. Today, we're diving into a battle that diesel fans, truckers, and engine enthusiasts have been debating for years. It's old school versus new school. We're talking about the iconic Caterpillar 3406 engine, a legend in the world of long-haul trucking, versus the new generation of diesel engines powering 2026 model semi-trucks. This is a head-to-head breakdown of performance, reliability, fuel economy, emissions, and real-world experience. Whether you're a fleet owner, an independent trucker, or just someone who appreciates raw mechanical power, this one's for you. Let's start with the Caterpillar 3406. Built to last and born to haul, this engine made its mark in the late 70s and ruled the road well into the 2000s. Known for its mechanical strength, high torque output, and unmatched durability, the 3406 became a go-to engine for drivers who needed performance they could rely on, mile after mile. Many truckers still swear by their 3406 powered rigs, especially models like the 3406B and 3406E, which became famous for being nearly bulletproof. This engine was available in several horsepower configurations, typically ranging from 375 to 550 horsepower, with torque outputs climbing well past 1,800 pounds-ft depending on the setup. The mechanical versions, like the 3406B, were simpler, easier to repair, and didn't require a laptop to diagnose. That's part of the reason mechanics and drivers loved them. You could fix issues on the road, often with basic tools. In terms of fuel economy, the 3406 wasn't exactly built for fuel sipping, especially by today's standards. But in its time, with proper tuning and a good driver, it could deliver decent mileage for heavy-duty use. It had no emissions equipment to speak of, no EGR, no DEF, no DPF, which made it cleaner to maintain but dirtier for the air. Back then, performance and reliability took priority over emissions regulations. Now, fast forward to 2026. Modern diesel engines in today's semi-trucks are a completely different beast. They're designed with electronic controls, high-pressure fuel systems, variable geometry turbos, and full emissions compliance including DEF, DPF, and EGR systems. Engines like the Cummins X15, the Detroit DD15 Gen 5, or the Volvo D13TC are engineered for not just power, but also efficiency, environmental responsibility, and data integration. Let's break down how the modern diesel engines compare. First, performance. While the numbers look similar on paper, modern engines range from 400 to 600 horsepower and up to 2,050 pounds-ft of torque. The delivery is very different. These engines offer more consistent torque across the RPM range, with better throttle response and smarter power management. Thanks to computer controls, they optimize fuel burn, shift points, and even adaptive cruise systems. In terms of reliability, this is where opinions split. Modern engines are more complex, there's no denying that. With all the added sensors, emission systems, and electronics, there are simply more things that can go wrong. However, they are also engineered to tighter tolerances, and when maintained properly, they can run millions of miles. The difference is that fixing them is rarely done on the roadside. It requires diagnostics tools, trained technicians, and access to software. Where modern diesel engines really shine is fuel efficiency. Compared to the older Caterpillar 3406, today's engines can deliver up to 15 to 20% better fuel economy. That might not sound huge, but over hundreds of thousands of miles, it translates into major savings for fleet operators and owner-operators alike. Add in features like predictive cruise control, idle shutdown, and automated transmissions, and modern trucks are optimized for minimal waste and maximum distance. Let's talk about emissions. This is the biggest change between old and new. The Caterpillar 3406 came from a time when diesel smoke was normal, and environmental standards were not as strict. Today's engines are required to meet strict EPA standards. They use diesel exhaust fluid, particulate filters, and exhaust gas recirculation to drastically reduce NOx and particulate matter. This is better for the planet, but it does add complexity and potential maintenance headaches, Cost is another factor. The Caterpillar 3406 is considered a workhorse engine, and while used models are still in circulation, they're no longer produced. Finding a well-maintained 3406 can be a treasure hunt, but when you do, parts are generally cheaper, and the engine can often be rebuilt rather than replaced. Modern engines, on the other hand, come with higher upfront costs and expensive components, especially if emission systems fail out of warranty. But modern engines also come with better factory warranties, onboard telematics, and service support that old-school engines never had. You can monitor engine health in real time, get alerts before breakdowns, and even use GPS data to improve fuel economy. It's a high-tech world where data drives decisions. Sound is another topic that engine lovers care about. The Caterpillar 3406 has a deep, raw growl that many truckers still consider the best-sounding engine ever made. There's something about the way a 3406 sounds when it's under load. It's pure diesel music. Modern engines are quieter, more refined, and designed to reduce noise pollution. It's great for cities and communities, but for some drivers, it takes away the soul of the truck. Let's talk about longevity. The 3406 earned its reputation by lasting for over 1 million miles with basic care. The lack of electronics made it less sensitive to variables like sensor failures or electrical issues. Today's engines can also reach 1 million miles or more, but they require stricter adherence to maintenance schedules, proper DEF handling, and attention to updates and recalls. In other words, both can last, but the old-school 3406 could take more abuse. So which is better? It really depends on what you value. If you want simple, raw power, and don't mind doing your own repairs, the Caterpillar 3406 is still one of the best diesel engines ever made. It's a legend for a reason. If you want maximum fuel efficiency, low emissions, smoother driving, and integrated technology, the 2026 diesel engines are ahead in the game. They're the future of freight and fleet logistics. We also can't ignore regulations. In many states and countries, older engines like the 3406 are no longer compliant with emission standards. That means you can't use them in certain regions without retrofitting or facing penalties. New engines meet or exceed current laws, making them better choices for fleets operating across multiple states or internationally. Let's wrap this up with one truth. Both the Caterpillar 3406 and the new-gen diesel engines represent the best of their time. One is a symbol of mechanical dominance and self-reliance. The other is a product of innovation, sustainability, and digital control. Both have their pros and cons, and that's what makes this debate so interesting. If you're restoring a classic rig or want something that reminds you of the golden era of trucking, nothing beats the Cat 3406. If you're building a future-proof fleet with lower operational costs and higher efficiency, today's 2026 diesel engines are the smart bet. We'd love to hear what you think. Are you Team Cat 3406 or Team Modern Diesel? Drop your comments below. Tell us about your experience with either of these beasts, what you loved, what you hated, and what you'd choose if you were buying today. That's it for this deep dive comparison. If you enjoyed this video and want more honest, in-depth content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with your fellow truck enthusiasts. Your support helps us keep this engine running strong.